So I think let us start.
The other Saturday is odd for them and Karablo joining me.
Okay, so maybe areas more that we need to discuss. Let me just project again what we had shared regarding criteria, especially from the criteria of selection of beneficiaries. So maybe what I had shared in the concept, let me just pick a few highlights, and then Dr. Data will also then merge with what he had, the thoughts that he had. We had put some thoughts together.
Okay.
Right, so let me just share the screen. Okay, are you seeing my screen? Okay, so initially, I think from our concept, this is where we had said to offer 4 full scholarships, 2 for girls and 2 for boys. That was what we agreed as board in our meeting, July and August. So 2 boys, 2 girls. And then how we thought it should be merit. I think we mentioned merit, that full scholarships, and then the scholarship, the emphasis of the board then was to target disadvantaged children. That was the target. But those who performed very well, but they cannot afford to pay fees. I think that was initially our thought as board. And then the parents of the beneficiaries shall be originating from Koboko. I think this one we have qualified, that originating from Koboko does not necessarily mean a Kakwa. I think that one has been emphasized. And then the beneficiary should have been admitted to a secondary school in West Nile. That was another criteria that we, as a board, we agreed on. And then background check to ascertain the authenticity, say the national ID, even the past slips, those ones will be done. And then the scholarships will be advertised and call for applications issued. And then the vetting committee will be the education committee to put in place to vet the participants or the applicants. So those were the key areas really that we thought we should look at. So part of the issue of, I think, disadvantage, Aine qualified it as vulnerability. So I think the question vulnerability became contentious. So maybe that's what we need to talk about now. So that was what we suggested as board. And then I think from the feedback that Dr. Nyakali, Dr. Data has been getting, I think he has also put some ideas. So I think that now let me give you time to also share what you have collected so far and how you want the board to incorporate some of those ideas. Yete.
All right. So one of the challenges such initiatives face is contentious clauses. So one of the things that people have raised in my inbox is, so this issue of vulnerability. How do you assess that this one is less vulnerable than that one? And so some of the thoughts, it's a very good thought. One of the thoughts people have been saying is that let this thing just be on merit. It's like if you are the best, irrespective of whether you're vulnerable or not, we will offer you the scholarship because you have demonstrated excellency. And if we go by that, there is like no application. The DHO's team just releases based on performance that year and say, you know, KDA, the best pupils are this. And when they release the best pupils, these are like the best males and the best females who have performed in Koboko schools, then what we do is we publish the names for a period of time to see whether those are challenged. If they are not challenged, then they qualify for the scholarship. So that it's totally excellency based, so that irrespective of where you are or what your parents are doing right now, you can be offered the scholarship. And if your parents say, okay, for us, we can afford, they can give the scholarship to the next best person.
Okay.
So that there is totally no ambiguity and no bickering, because the best performers can be objectively determined. And those people who petition can have objective evidence to petition. That was one of the things. I'd like to stop there and just listen to your reactions before I go to the next things.
Thank you. Patricia, are you? Patricia, thank you. You're welcome. Pat, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here. Thank you, Charles.
Mm.
Tabu Badinyo.
Yeah, look,
Yeah, Lobo.
Yeah, I've logged in briefly. I'm in office right now, and I may just be with you for some few minutes.
That's why I wanted you to talk fast.
Yes.
I knew.
Yes.
Okay.
This, you see, I got Data's point. It's very contentious. I have also got inbox mails and chats from people who are saying, well, how do we assess that people are vulnerable or not? But what I need to point out is whatever criteria we put forth, there'll always be loopholes. Now, there's a situation where there are people who study in Kampala and they go and sit for exams in Koboko, or they study in Arua, other parts of the country. Then they go and sit in Koboko. I don't know why that happens, but it's a common thing. So those will be the people who will perform very well, and we shall then take them up, you see? Then we do not meet our target of our own people in Koboko. I'm not trying to be a bit Koboko, okay, sidelining other districts, but I want us to focus on Koboko. And I think for the start, let's focus on the vulnerable. I know it's very difficult to assess, but Grace has tried her level best and went to some of those families. Because there is no one in this world who will come and tell you, I cannot afford school fees, or I can afford. No, they'll never tell you that they can never afford school fees. They'll always say, yeah, if somebody is taking my child up to pay school fees, that is most welcome. So I don't think a parent will come up and say, me, I can afford, give it to somebody. It may be a challenge. For now, I think we should start with the vulnerability as a top notch of our criteria. Then we can scale down and see how we opt and bring in other options like top performers and that kind of. So I think we should really put in a control, a balance and check onto the people we are giving scholarship to. Otherwise, we may not get our intended target for Koboko and Koboko pupils. Yeah, tell us.
Okay, yeah, just a quick rejoinder. I'll give the scenario why people sit, they study somewhere and go and sit in another district. There's a belief that schools in Kampala, Wakiso, Mukono are targeted during marking. And it's a belief because I really don't think it is true that the marking guide and No, not the marking guide, but the pass mark for schools in Kampala is different from the pass mark for schools, say in Karamoja or in Koboko. That's the belief in many of the people who have children across the site. So it's very common. I have experienced it too with people around here. So the children will study up to P6, even P7, then they register to sit in Ntungamo, or they register to go and sit in their home villages, so that with the belief that there they can either get a 4 or a 5. I think that is the main aim of that kind of behavior. But let me leave it here for the moment. Dr. Kajobe, maybe you can make a comment before I also make my own. Thank you.
Okay. Also, I agree with the Patricia. I know that any criteria really will be challenged. There will be another alternative to any criteria we suggest. So the best criteria which can, I think, work for our people now, and which can sell, and emotionally it will involve people, is a criteria which will really look for somebody who's poor. If we put the criteria for more, like the best person wins, it will be like this people who are going on government. You go to Budo, you get 4 A's or 3 A's, then you go to university for the course you want, and the government pays for that one. And that one has been criticized always that because it is not really thinking about the other person, it is only siding with the rich, promoting the rich again and again. So criteria la my condilo kubwa ladi, first it caters for the poor people, and then it gets out the best among the poor people, meaning that vulnerability will have to come in. So the thing is for us to tighten the criteria, which we say vulnerability, we have to tighten it clearly. But if criteria look allowed to in only for like best persons, and they are always coming from bigger districts like Yakani as described, then some people will switch off. Say now I cannot waste my money, give this person who is coming from Kampala who can afford. So the contributors will now switch off again. So criteria look at body to get the best out of the poor people. So I think this one we can explain to people. We just say that, can you give us a better way of how we can identify the vulnerable people, but kick up to the other one? If the other one will risk, few people will contribute to that. That is my suggestion.
Okay, thank you. Data, please go ahead. I think we need to emphasize the merit, academic excellence, and vulnerability should go together. You must be vulnerable, but also perform excellently. I think that's important. But yeah, Data, go ahead.
Okay, before that, it is like this. The best person, background check la kona, the village, neighbors, what, the school, the what, Bena Grace, the other criteria Grace used. And we find that one can afford, then we do not. But if there is a person immediately after that one who is vulnerable, okay, the definition is always controversial, but imedana ilobabagiaki atani to sukulu namdo do didinyo lude nyelo dome. But also the guarantee is here. As we agreed, we follow up. We pick this one and it starts deteriorating. The rules, the regulations will make sure that the person is dropped and we pick another one.
Data.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so I think if we are to use the vulnerability thing, let's have a very clear criteria which is objective to define vulnerability. And I think once it sounds, Kajobe, it sounds like you have a criteria that has been used before. And so I think that criteria will be circulated for people to, just for few people to vet and see whether that is clear enough. Okay.
Okay.
And of course, at the end of it all, I think we will need to get the opinion of the subscribers as well. As you know, those who commit will have their thoughts, and at the end of it all, what augurs well with the majority will prevail. Because the way the scheme is structured, the sustainability is based on numbers.
Yes.
So what I put together is that, so I started by some guiding principles, and I thought, well, I was looking for a name, and currently I have, I think, two names in my head. Either we call this the S Awards or the CASE Awards, Koboko Academic Excellence Awards, or Academic Excellence Awards. So for this document, I used the S Awards. And so the guiding principles there, one is that the S Awards shall be merit-based. So I had not included the issue of vulnerability. The awards shall be non-partisan and shall not be awarded on any tribal, religious, or ethnic lines, because I believe that Koboko is bigger than a tribe. And we are bound to have more and more tribes settle in Koboko by the fact that they can buy land and things like that. And awards shall be reserved for pupils and all students who completed from a school located in the original Koboko district boundaries as of the year 2021. And this is to the fact that districts may be split. We may one time be split into multiple districts. The scholarship shall comprise of a uniform financial contribution payable directly to the student host institution, irrespective of total tuition requirements, and shall be released on a timely basis. The essence of that is that if we decide that the scholarship is 800,000 per term, we will contribute 800,000, even if the school fees is 1 million. The rest will have to be met by the parents. And this is important because the best motivator for a child's education is the parent. If we take the parent out of the equation, it's like taking the family head responsibilities out of the home, and then the family head becomes an irresponsible person and will not be able to make rules and regulations for their home. An even number of awardees shall be selected annually with equal distribution between male and female. And this is for equity. Scholarship is tenable in any school in Uganda. And this is where I'm coming from. So if we do it on merit, currently the best performing schools are outside West Nile. Now, if I gave a scholarship to a primary school teacher, and this primary school teacher is able to top up that scholarship fund and afford a school like Namagunga for the child, I think the future of that child is better than a child who is going to study in Arua Public, because we said so. And so in my mind, if we have excellent performers and we are pushing the excellent performers to actually achieve academically, we are building a critical mass of people who can contribute to Koboko's development. So at whatever cost, if they can succeed, let them succeed. And then for the selection criteria, I had 3 points. The award candidate must have completed from a Koboko district school, must have at least studied 3 consecutive classes in a Koboko school by the date of scholarship consideration, which means if we are applying this to primary school, the pupil must have started P5, P6, and P7 consecutively in a Koboko school. And the reason I put this is that I was thinking of the bigger picture. We need to think about building a school economy in Koboko. So even if people are sending children to Koboko, but they are studying P5, P6, and P7 in Koboko schools, what is going to happen is that the number of pupils in all Koboko schools will potentially increase. When that number of pupils in the schools increase, the school income is going to increase, and these schools are going to afford more and more better teachers for the pupils. And if they can attract better teachers, the school system in Koboko is generally going to increase. And I think if we target something that increases the entire school system, even if the Kakwas are not getting the scholarships, they are going to benefit from the school systems, and many more than the little scholarships we are offering. So here, my thought is we look at the bigger fish, and the bigger fish is improving the school economy and the quality of the schools in the district. So, and then the third thing here is that must have been objectively determined to have scored the best grades in a national examination among the male or female candidates of the class under consideration. So for scholarship retention and loss, once awarded, the awardee shall fulfill the following conditions to maintain their scholarship. Of course, it's not a free ride. If you cheated your way into this, we will find out. So an awardee shall maintain a cumulative average score of 70% at the end of any academic year. So even if you're in Nyangilia, we are sponsoring you in Nyangilia, you need to maintain an average of, in my mind, 70%. We need to agree on that. Candidates that fail to maintain a 70% subject average as described in one above shall automatically lose their scholarship by the end of the academic year. And the idea here is that we need to position people to compete. When you go to school, you know that I'm on scholarship, and if I can lose my scholarship if I relax. So go to school and mean business. If you go and relax, you know it's your problem, then you are out. In this way, all our scholarship awardees will go and put in their best so that they can maintain their scholarship. And in the process of putting in their best, they will compete with the best in that school. And as they compete with the best in that school, we build a culture of competition. And once a culture of competition is built, performance automatically improves, even if teaching is bad. I'll give you an example of Pokea Seminary. Pokea Seminary, when I was there, Pokea Seminary had some of the worst teachers. But there was a culture in the school that if you get a second grade in O level, you are a disgrace to the entire school. So everybody strives to get a first grade. We had piles and piles of books that we inherited from our things, from our past people, but we competed. And we all built in ourselves that culture of competition, and we succeeded. So the retention, that was the background to the retention. And also, as I said in the meeting, you cannot polish a toad and expect it to become a fish. If somebody is weak and accidentally passed, we are not going to continue policing him and hoping that he's going to be an excellent and brilliant person in the future. I submit.
Thank you,
Thank you
Doctor.
very much.
I think one of the contentious issues point is number 6, maybe, from what you have put, which is a departure from what the board had in mind. That is tenable in any school in Uganda. And we debated that actually. We debated the idea that we could give what we, in the board, I think we called it a partial scholarship, that if our scholarship amount is say 800 and somebody wants to go to King's College Budo where the fees is 2.4, they are willing to pay their 1.6, and then we top up the 800. That's what we had discussed, and we thought that to start with, that should not be the case, because if you're able to raise 1.4, then ideally, then you're not vulnerable in a way. I think from our discussion then. So that was the reason we initially said, let's begin with the best schools in West Nile, because if you have performed very well, we thought that it is important first to also empower, excuse me, the West Nile schools. So you should be able to go to Mbachi, to maybe a DFA or those good schools to start with. And if our resource envelope then increases probably, and we think we're able now to even send our own awardees to Budo, to Namagunga, then we should be able to do the full tuition also for those schools later. I think that was a departure, if I remember correctly. So this is now board. We need to make a decision on this one. I think the rest.
I think I agree with you. Number 6, we said, ultimately, as we grow, we shall go towards this. But for now, we start with because this person passed well in fact within.
Okay, maybe Dr. Data has another meeting at 8, so he is dropping off, but we'll continue the discussion. You need to make me host again, Dr. Data.
Yeah, just kindly record for me this discussion and send me the recording.
Yeah, it's being recorded.
Okay.
Yeah, make me host again. Have you made me host?
To make you host again,
you click on the participants, and then on my name there is more. Click on more and then make host.
Okay, got that. All right.
Okay, Doctor, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please, afterwards, edit.
Thank you.
Feel free to edit whatever and then send me a document. I think eventually we will test. We will find a way to test the waters.
Yeah.
Dr. Data should not leave because we have some questions to put to him.
He's going for another meeting.
I have another pre-scheduled meeting that has started. Actually, I'm 6 minutes late.
I wanted just to throw one thing for Data.
Yes, please.
Before you got Data?
Yes, please.
The problem when in teaching, once you are dealing with a very brilliant teacher, he thinks that every class must go at his speed, and that is the danger we normally have. You may have found an easy path because you were a top-notch student and you got through easily. It does not mean that another one who gets a meritorious scholarship may move in the same manner. When you put a mark that's so high, I'll give an example. If certainly a student comes from Koboko and immediately is thrown in the waters of schools in Kampala, naturally you'd expect him to be among the top students. So therefore, jostling for breathing space is not easy. If you tell the student to get 70%, then you put a lot of stress on this student. I don't want situations where...
No, that's an example. We will agree
Yes,
on the percentage. If we agree
yes,
on 60% or 65%, but there should be a
value.
criteria to eliminate those non-performers.
What usually happens with other groups is that they have an elaborate support system. We should offer students that are in scholarship a follow-up.
Thank you so much, but I really have to go.
Okay.
We need to strengthen.
Okay.
Yes, Dr. Aine, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So we agree on the figure.
If we want an output to come out of the scholarships, we need to have an elaborate follow-up mechanism. Once we have a follow-up mechanism, we say we have student X in place Y, we student have Y, Z in place Y. Then we have these mentors, or we call them mentors, whatever name we'll call them, who will regularly take on the role of going to the school, meet with the teachers of the school to discuss the performance of this kid.
Yeah.
The kid gets support from that kind of direction. Even where the kid has weakness in subject X, we try to see how that subject can be fixed. My problem with having a high mark, like he has given us an example of 70%, there are so many factors why a kid may not be able to hit that mark. Me, I usually, where I work, we normally go with what we call minimum. We don't go with the maximum. So I would want us, when we are setting the base for performance, we set the minimum. In most other places, if you're a bachelor student under scholarship, they tell you, please don't score lower than 3.5, for example. That is really a little bit low. If you're at 4, but they'll not tell you, please, you should be scoring at 4.0. That is very difficult. So I want us, when we are trying to put this, first and foremost, we are beginning off. We are testing the waters. Let us not begin extremely so high. We want to get as many people on board to support this initiative. Let us not be exclusive. Let us be all inclusive. 2, the issue of vulnerability. We are marrying meritorious scholarship together with vulnerability, meaning it is possible to get a vulnerable kid when you put them among the best. This vulnerable kid actually scored 14 aggregate. Because the ones who scored 5, 6, 7, 8, they come from those who can afford. So you find the other one is a son of a head teacher, the other one is a son of somebody in the district, the other one is a daughter of Robert Kajobe. Those ones can afford. Yes. Let them go with their 5 and 6 and wherever to the schools of their interest. For me, we're interested after doing our vulnerability. First of all, are you vulnerable? Yes, you apply. Are you vulnerable? Yes, you apply. Are you vulnerable and you performed well? Yes, you apply. Then when we sit, we shall start with vulnerability before we go to marks. We don't go to marks first, then vulnerability. And that's the same thing we do with the West Nile group. We ask ourselves, is this person able to afford the tuition? Was he vulnerable? Then we put him aside. If he says he's vulnerable, we said, very good, you're a candidate. Then now come and say, vulnerable people are 10. Can we get the best? The best 2. So I want us to really distill the issue of vulnerability very well. I thought that to me was the objective. Are you vulnerable? We pursue from that kind of dimension. So when people talk of merit and we lose the focus of vulnerability, the challenge will be, yes, we shall get top cream students. They will perform very well. We shall all be happy, but we shall not have achieved the target. Why are we paying for somebody who can afford?
Yeah.
And then lastly, Charles, we deliberated about the issue of scholarship in West Nile or scholarship in Kampala. Generally, we agreed.
We agreed.
That by the time we use one school fees, I'll give an example. I have my daughter in Nagalama. 1.8 million is what they expect from me in January.
Yeah.
1.8 million, I can pay 2 or 3 kids in West Nile. Not so?
Yes, you can.
Yes. So to me, the challenge is, yes, you are bright, you have gone to Kisubi. By the time you get 4 aggregates, chances are high you are not vulnerable. Honestly, you are not vulnerable. If you can come to St. Mary's Kisubi, I don't think if I put you on a vulnerability assessment, you'll pass the test. You'll fail. It is in extreme cases that you'll get a vulnerable kid who actually gets 4, because a vulnerable kid goes through so many limitations that affect this kid's performance level. So we are trying to say now, don't worry about school fees. We shall take care of this now, concentrate in class. Now, the reason why we put West Nile at that point in time is that it allows us to afford and breathe. And then we start from home. When the thing grows, then we can talk to another place. Of course, other people had argued and said, okay, if the West Nile school fees is 600,000, give me my 600, I will know how to top it up. That means you're not vulnerable, like Charles, you have said. That person is not vulnerable. So we need to debate that carefully so that we don't lose that focus. And we need to bring Data as our lead mobilizer, fundraiser, to get to appreciate some of these dynamics. We have had a lot of discussions, and as far as this is concerned, how do we bring it out, and how do we ensure that we really don't lose out our initial focus? Thank you so much.
Yes, Dr. Ine. Yeah, that's it. That's it really. And I think we just need to focus on this vulnerability, and maybe Dr. Ine, I don't know if you are able to distill this further, and just what are the indicators? If we can break down now the indicators of vulnerability, those are the things maybe we will use for justifying. What are the indicators of vulnerability we are going to use to tick off that this is our person that we're looking for? But I think generally we have agreed that this is the line we need to follow. Yes, Dr.
Charles,
Kajobe. Yes.
Maybe before Dr. Kajobe comes in, we did vulnerability profiling somewhere, but not necessarily for students.
Okay.
But generally, there are acceptable things that we see, and we can know somebody is vulnerable. We start with parent available or parent not available. Do you have any support system or no support system? There are people like me who does not have a father, but I have a powerful uncle like Kajobe. I'm not vulnerable because my uncle is taking care of me. But there are those ones who do not have parents.
Is your powerful uncle willing to take care of you, actually?
Well, that's a different matter. We shall do that assessment.
Yes.
But then we go to, first of all, orphanage. Is the person an orphan or not? Number 2, is the person a single mother or not? We know that single mothers are vulnerable, natural, compared to single fathers, if they are there. Then we go to what is the person's occupation, the breadwinner. You may find the person sells bamia in the market. Then that means you are trying to assess whether the person is a daily income earner or not a daily income earner. You go to the shelter. You go to the source of livelihood. Dr. Kajobe knows that very well. What is the source of livelihood for this home? So you continue and continue and continue breaking it down. You'll be able to establish.
I would like Dr. Ine help me there. Please just put for me those points down, and you share with us in the board group so that we can put them together in a document. Please kindly do that. Okay.
When we are, I filled a form for one of the girls who was in my home, and she got this loan. And the questions that student loan is now in Chambago, second year. And the type of questions that were asked by the student loan, in fact, those are the vulnerability, the criteria you are talking about. The father, the mother. If is the father there, is the mother there? What is the occupation of the father? What is the occupation of the mother? What is the income of the father? What is the income of the mother? What is the level of education for these parents? The level of education, their income, then where do they stay? Are they there? And another NGO, which was supporting some guys in Koboko, and took them to Iganga, visited, in fact, them at home, assessed the home, and talked to the parents, talked to the neighbors, and to the school. So you go to the headmaster. The headmaster has known this person up to P7. He knows how they were limping, paying fees. Headmaster, the head teacher. We are used to that language. So the head teacher knows it. The head teacher, the parents, their occupation, their income, and all those will help. And then if you have now gone like the short list of from maybe the up 30 people applied. You have done the first thing and you have come with the short list, maybe they have come to maybe 8. Then you visit these people, the real home, the school, what. Then from there, we shall make the final selection. So I think we can do that.
All right. So I think we have an agreement. The vulnerability should be key. And then best performance is also performance then follows. So Dr. Ini, you kindly just jot for me some of those indicators. We will consolidate into a document. Patricia,
Grace moved around.
comment?
I remember Grace moved around and she did something. So the indicators that Grace used to move to ask people, let her share with the Aini, I think.
No, Aini can do and then we match.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, Dr. Ini?
Yes, that's okay. We will compare what Grace has done, and then we can put some additions to that. There was something that Tata had raised, that we condition in such a way that the person should have had his primary education in Koboko in the last 3 years before he sits for P7. Now, we all know that there are different factors. What about if the person who's in a rural life was okay? When he was in his P6, that's when the father dies and he goes to Koboko. What then happens? Is that person not vulnerable immediately after the death of the father? So there's cases in there that when we like that, we lock out a number of people to really opening it up so that we really give opportunity for people. Remember, the funders have associations. The people who are giving this money have associations in one way or another. When I give money today and tomorrow I'll meet a vulnerable kid somewhere, I'll advise this vulnerable kid that, wait a minute, I think you have an opportunity to get funding from KDA. And I may recommend this person. But if as a funder, for example, or you as a funder, for example, realizes that the policies we have in place limit a lot, then the people will begin complaining that themselves as part of an electorate are being left out. So to me, I don't know what your opinion is, but there are different reasons as to why people change schools. Somebody could be studying in Teregu because his father was a headmaster there, or his uncle, he was staying with his uncle, then the uncle retires. Then he goes back to Koboko to finish his school, P7 from there. That means technically that person does not qualify. You see that? So I don't know, but I personally, I'm not comfortable with that. I just want you have studied in Koboko, whether you came in P7, whether you came in P6, whether you came from P1, those are really material. Let's look at the P7 results, in my opinion. I don't know what you colleagues will say. Thank you.
Yeah, as you said, there are many who are there are many connotations to this. I don't know whether you had my contribution earlier. There are also those who just migrate to purposely register their children in their home districts because of this belief that the marking, the grade for setting first grade or the D1s is different for for urban schools like Kampala schools, Mwakiso, Mukono, and then the peripheral districts. There's that belief is very common among these elite schools. So that was also one of the things.
But you see, Charles, vulnerability index will throw them out.
Yeah. So we will need to look into that. So let us tighten the index, the vulnerability index. Then that will be helpful.
Yeah.
We'll throw that one out.
Okay. Then another.
I think the other thing of the marks.
Yeah. The marks. Yeah, that's what I wanted us to look at. Hello?
I think the marks.
Are we there?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the marks, I think we as Aini suggested, let's not keep the marks, even if it is 60 or what. maybe it is better to, as he said, to do the minimum. Are you among the first 10%? Because some problem can come in and they bring you down in the class. Because some teachers are difficult. The highest may be really 70. So it may be left out. So in your class, are you among the first 10% or maybe 5% also? I think that one can be better than fixing the marks. Because this person knows he's under pressure.
Okay.
I don't know how we can fix that one.
Let me, before I come in, Patricia wants to leave. Patricia, do you want to make a last comment before you go?
Yeah, Charles, I need to leave. Nalobonga kukufanya loro. Yeah. I think Aine has summarized it well. Vulnerability kai kukokoloro nyekango. We should have it as our top notch. Of course, tagged to performance. And Nagana, my focus is generally on Koboko. Koboko. Ngaji kaya kilo Koboko yu. We should not look at West Nile, Ngaji Kudela Adinyo. Well, it's good to be inclusive, but for now, let's look at our own children. Here, tell us who continue with the discussions. Let me get going. There's something pressing over here. Anabu?
All right, maybe about the marks. Comment Lilo Milo. I think, yes, we can say minimum. They should get a minimum mark. True, if we want to really ensure that these students shine, that they keep, they move from being in maybe intermediate to really the top performance that they can be if given the right conditions, like Aine has said. They might have gotten a 10 or 11, okay, because of the hard conditions. In those hard conditions, they were able to get that. But now when we give you the scholarship, go and shine, yes, the school fees is not going to be your problem. Your problem is reading. So what will stop you then from getting 60 at least? So for me, I would like to propose that we keep a certain minimum mark and we lower the 70 that Dr. Data proposed to 60. I got 2 admissions for my son, King's College Budo and Amliango College. Both of them, they have a minimum mark. Their pass mark for senior 1 and 2 is 60%. So I would like us to borrow that one if we can, so that we encourage our scholarship, our Ds to work hard. Average, it's the average for all the, you can get 90 in another one, 40 in another one, but if your average mark at the end of the year is a 60, you continue with the scholarship. I would like us to borrow that one. 70 is rather very high, but 60 I think is manageable.
Okay.
Okay, I agree.
I think that need the law.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let us lower the 70 to 60 and we move with that so that they know they need to perform. And I think, was it Dr. Aine, was it you or somebody else on Saturday who said when they don't perform, we don't, maybe we write a warning. As you said, we must monitor them. We must monitor them every term. So at the maybe first term, they have dropped a bit, they need to be warned that, you know what, you need to get your 60. Second term, we check. The follow-up should be there so that by the end of the year, we don't just surprise them that you didn't perform. Yeah?
Charles.
Yes.
Don't make our children to run mental.
Yeah.
You've been a student yourself. You have been a student yourself. You know what to do. I want to approach it from mentorship point. When we get the mentors,
yes,
talk to this one boy or one girl who is scoring 60%. The mentor will be able to tell us, because you cannot improve within one term.
You can. Dr. Ine, you can. In one term, you can.
Yes.
Yes.
You're a teacher. You know that when our kids will come to even study in Arua, you know, but they will first of all be hit by cultural shock.
Yes.
After being hit by cultural shock, by the time they're getting the momentum, they're in third term. Then what happens?
So I think that's where the mentors must come and start to work from term 1.
Let me give you my experience. I joined senior 1 when I was the top student in my primary school. And I went to Mvara of Kajobe.
Our Mvara. I was also in Mvara.
When I went to Mvara, senior 1, come. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Number 67. Number 67. How can you explain a boy who got 9 aggregate from Moni Primary School? The first graders were only 2 and he's one of them. And he comes to Mvara and people who got 18, 16, 14 are beating him. What do you explain about that? Don't you think there is an environmental factor?
Sure,
But
there
guess
is.
what happened?
Yeah.
I finished, by the time I was finishing 3rd term in senior 1, I had struggled and I pulled it now to number 14.
Yeah.
I am trying to, so you see, by the time I was reaching senior 4, as they said, the rest is now history. So what could have happened to this boy who got 9 aggregate? His name was on page 1 of the list. I think he was among them because that time the admissions were, there are not so many first graders that you would get. So how would you account for that? That means technically in term 2, you give me a warning letter. Actually, in term 1, you can't give me a warning letter. So what is the effect of this warning letter of Yakani on me after getting, I was number 6.
Panic again.
I will be number 90.
No, I think let us qualify. The warning letter shouldn't be a warning letter. I think let me withdraw that. It should be the mentor who goes there to say, you know what, this is what you need to do, and we're expecting you to, yeah. There are consequences. But I think follow-up is very important. The follow-up.
Oh yes.
The timely follow-up. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Okay. Yeah, Dr. Ine, I pick you there. That is very good. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is
now question if if the parents are not from Koboko, kwa alur kude kuluto go you ngo very jack the parents are technically not from Koboko, but they are teaching there in Koboko. What happens?
Are they vulnerable?
The parents, because we said, and then we should also describe whether it is only one father, the father, the mother, or both.
Chairman, what do you mean by this word? Somebody is from Koboko. First, start with that one. Or not from Koboko.
Because mutu kude kulu kulus da Koboko for long but kude kulu body kulus die.
Those are, I will qualify them from Koboko. Those are residents, so I will say they are from Koboko.
Yeah. Then the second one, because we are saying parents from Koboko. And we clarifying so monye Muganda ta ngote akakwatio. What happens?
Yes, residents to Koboko. Kupa Koboko. Koboko.
Those ones will so one of the parents is from there. We should clarify on whether at least one of the parents or both.
I think we had done that. Yeah, Dr. Ine, if you remember, we said Mutuloko settling in the Yadul Pona Maracha. But now your interests basically are all in Koboko, Dolu Sidai, Dolo business, no, or Dobalolo, but look Koboko, you are at home, Koboko.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
you'll be fine. As long as
Okay.
vulnerability, you are vulnerable. Yes, Dr. Ine. Network, no,
Chairman
no.
in charge.
Hey.
You know that,
Dr. Ine, your network.
Chairman, can you hear me? You know that we are
Yes.
there are people who are not Kakwa. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Okay.
Yes.
Hello, Kamugu? Nadi.
Yes.
Charles Dolo Ingana.
Okay.
There are people who are not Kakwa. Like you and me.
Yes.
They could be Baras, they could be a ringer, then Koboko. They have been added on KBA platform. If they can contribute money, they will and could fight also get the scholarship. That will mean for them they have to live in Koboko, they are born in Koboko. Now that will mean they will want to see if tomorrow we eliminate somebody because he does not fit our definition. These people will feel offended. Hello?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Or did you lose me?
We are actually, you're on and off. You're on and off.
Am I now okay?
Ngamorido, try again.
Okay, fine. Can you hear me now? Very well. Can you hear me?
In slow motion. It comes in slow motion.
But it comes in slow motion. You following too.
Utiningero?
Nadi. Nadi.
Yeah.
Within the contributors of this money, the 20,000, the 50,000 we are starting. There are people who are not necessarily who are Ringa, Sudanese, who have the one I call Keke lenders. They have said they are not going to contribute money and they're contributing. They will want to see that people who fall within the same denominator are considered in future for this. Now, should our criteria leave such people out when they qualify, to them it is of your type and not consent. So we need to be careful of how we deal with that. You get my point?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's clear. It is now our focus is not, it is not Kakwa. It is Koboko. Whether you are from where, as long as you are residing in Koboko, you have got Koboko at heart, you have got Koboko interest, you stay there. I think that should be criteria. And then, of course, if you're vulnerable or not. Okay, I think that one I will polish that and put in that document. Then finally, I think we have to agree on what the date. We need to have a radio talk show and the launch date, right? Yeah, Chairman.
The launch coinciding with the giving out of the mattresses, so that it really generates that kind of so we cannot fix the date here. We have to liaise with the Honorable James Baba, so that launch combine la lude don't attention would launch that thing when we also the matters also being given out. Then radio talk show langu ponda close to that date, slightly before. So matala kimete in January, maybe I think the best one is to be in January.
Isn't January too far?
It's too far,
Especially for the
December.
radio tech show, because if we need to popularize and even bring more people on board to just to contribute,
Contribute.
January language
Okay.
can we do within towards
talk show
December?
Come early. Radio talk show can come even before Christmas. Then Kodoka resources kata takokona murai lakini kujuna be 700 and then another 700 again. One could be enough. Before Christmas. Then they launch in early January.
Full kickback na baya tarik meregele Jan. So it should be before. Tarik meregele school kickback nengangach. So mutolaga vulnerable should be already. Actually, criteria law selection should be going on by even the first week of January.
Within December.
So I think we need to agree on that. So you call Dr. Baba when he thinks the mattresses can be available. We want to give them before the end of the year. And then we see.
Okay. Kodoka coinciding that I will call him
before Tariki Mukana kana evitable.
Okay.
And then Ito Jinaboy will be a bit hard. Okay, I think secular them, so I think these are the key highlights. Then clear the bank account in Adinyo.
Bank kodo atangwa tajadi kodo ndikini. The thing would have come out today. I probably now today, but another tajadi in the week now.
At least before Friday, Kodo. Odoka Emalo Alipundo de Alopo. I follow up with him again.
Kodo sa kajuru kolo gile takana na dikin. Bon dikin like takakura uda within the week. Lakin
week la kolo really ko omalo kolom kana.
Then another thing inasa kulaso ko Sadiki. Yeah, emphasize nakadi we should king anedo. What are ops nikana kabo koina. For coordination and mobilization at least.
Yes.
I think I will remind the Grace can get us another volunteer because he's very busy now. Volunteer to sit there.
Okay.
If the house, if you cannot get the other free ones, room gele room create na kama gele account morea for start.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think
I will follow up with the Grace also. Okay.
Okay. I think he's second.
So tomorrow I will follow with the Grace.
Follow with the Grace and follow with James Baba, so that we can fix the time for the radio talk show. Okay, I'll go now updating that document and then we'll share it as a Google sheet so that everybody can see.
Hi, hello.
Hello.